Happy Saturday, friends, and it is another bonus Corona Lockdown edition here of Lions of Liberty coming at you on the weekend. I've been doing a lot more content here. I've been doing some live streams lately. I did one you're going to hear today with our friend Raylene Lightheart, who is, of course, the co-host of the amazing Blast Off, along with our good friend Johnny Rocket Adams. Before we get into that, I want to remind you about the great work we're doing with DonorSee, and to help with their response to coronavirus all around the world, 10% of our Patreon earnings are currently going to help out DonorSee with their efforts to help people affected by coronavirus and the lockdowns all around the world. Check out what they're doing at donorsee.com/coronavirus. And if that wasn't enough, if it wasn't enough to support your favorite libertarian podcast to help people around the world affected by coronavirus, another reason to join our Patreon right now is we have a brand new t-shirt, the Tigers of Liberty. It's our Tiger King parody t-shirt. It's really ridiculous, really hilarious. You're going to love it. It is going to be a conversation starter. You can check that out at lionsofliberty.store, but anybody who joins our Patreon between now and the end of April, anybody who joins at $15 or higher per month will get a free Tigers of Liberty t-shirt. So check it out now. You also get, of course, access to all of our amazing bonus content, which we are doing a plethora of lately. You also get a free mug at that level, and you get our daily news links that our good news collector Howie provides. So please do check all of that out over at patreon.com/Lions of Liberty.
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here's your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty, Marc Claire.
All right, friends, I am here live with our good friend, our good libertarian podcasting friend, who I've never met in real life, just like most of my internet libertarian podcasting friends. It is the wonderful Raylene Lightheart from Blast Off with Johnny Rocket and Raylene Lightheart. Raylene, how are you?
Good.
Are you ready to roar, by the way? I forgot to confirm that.
Sure, let's roar.
Okay. Let's make that official. So, as I've been doing with a bunch of these live streams lately, I've been calling upon podcast friends to just hop on for an hour and talk about life in the age of Corona. Do you just want to start off telling me a little bit about, maybe when you started first hearing about this virus and when it started to sort of affect you? I imagine in some ways it didn't affect you as much as some other people because you already homeschool, so you didn't have to make that kind of life adjustment that I know a lot of people are kind of making an adjustment with that right now. But just give us a little backstory on your journey here to where we are now over the last few months.
Okay. Well, some of you know that I've been talking about Corona for a while, researching it since around Christmas time. So I was following a lot of the stuff in China. I've done a couple podcasts on it, and wow, at the time they were hiding so many numbers. It was way worse than, just hiding a lot of information. So, it was really strange to me. In fact, one of the funny things about my mom the other day, a couple of weeks ago, was saying how she felt sorry for Trump because he didn't know about any of this and he can only do so much, which I'm not all about government doing much, to be honest with you. I'm a less is more kind of person with the state. But she was saying she felt sorry for him because he didn't know and he can only do things when people tell him about it. And I said, Mom, I love you and I want to really respect your political leanings, or you, regardless of us disagreeing on this, and I do think that calling Trump racist over this particular thing is not, I agree with you. But how does the President of the United States not know about this? If a little old lady that's homeschooling her kids in BFE knows about the virus, if I know about this, if I know these masks do or don't work and what would happen, and if I know this, then the president should know this. And if he doesn't deserve to be the president. There's no such thing as good government. And if he did know, then, like I suspect, then he's a liar. So that's where we're at.
Supposedly, I think one of the Chinese leaders called the White House crying in January about how distressed he was over this whole thing. So it's a little silly to seem like he didn't know. He did seem to be downplaying it in the beginning. But
the CDC said not to worry about it.
Right.
Now they're they knew.
He was just kind of going along that line. It seems like they've gone from, we're trying not to panic people, so we're going to downplay it. Now it feels like they're trying to panic people, and maybe they're I don't want to say overplaying or downplaying. I'm not a medical expert, and I'm not going to pretend to be.
And
But
we're being inundated with false numbers, but
right.
From everywhere.
From
Or
everywhere. That's the
information.
thing. I hear so much about how China was hiding numbers and lying about things. So maybe when I hear stuff like that, I think, oh, maybe it's way worse than we could ever imagine, or way bigger than we could ever imagine. And then I see other things and numbers coming out from the government that don't totally jive. And then I think, well, are they overhyping this to scare us now? And I have no idea where the truth really lies. I certainly believe it's a real virus of some kind.
Well, coronavirus, if it's true that they're not specifically testing for COVID-19, but just coronavirus, that original coronavirus is a common cold. So every one of us is probably going to have some sort of antibodies or titers against a type or strain of coronavirus. So, but I'm not here to make people's decisions for them or assert what is real and what is not. But I do know that misinformation everywhere on both ends is happening. Now,
have you seen suggestions that they are just testing for general coronavirus antibodies? Because that seems like it would really, really skew the numbers, because everyone I know gets a little cold at some point.
Yes, that is what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm hearing from medical experts. But then again, what's a medical expert? I saw a nurse making a video saying this is bullshit, blah, 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 blah. But then when she was talking, I recognized she doesn't know about titers. She doesn't know about even viral vaccine science and things like I do. So I realized that she's a nurse, but she's still not an authority because she doesn't even understand what I know. And I'm, again, just a homeschool mom who does a podcast about liberty, right? So who am I?
I think that's a thing in America where we sort of look to authority, and we kind of, a lot of people, not we, but a lot of people out there sort of filter everything through who is this, what position does this person have? And that determines whether or not I can trust them. I mean, even just someone who's a nurse or even a doctor isn't necessarily an expert on all things related to medicine, on all things related to vaccines in many
or
ways.
Nutrition.
Yeah, certainly. I don't think I've received much, if any, nutritional advice from a doctor ever. Mostly when I go to a doctor, they just ask, did I have my MMR shot, or did I do this or that? I hardly ever hear anything about, oh, how are you eating? What's your diet like? I don't think I've ever heard that from
what
a
pays
doctor,
them.
actually.
I mean, getting well and treating the root of the issues instead of just the symptoms does not ensure more customers. Not only that, another good way for people to look at it is when they start going into the curriculum of medical school or what nurses get, go and look at how long they get taught about certain topics, and you're going to realize that you can in a week get far more information and better education on that one topic if you do it right than that nurse or doctor. Because it's not pharmaceutical sponsored or state sponsored or through certain regulations. But back to what you were originally saying about the misinformation, how they seem to want us to downplay it. And then now they are definitely a part of the panic machine. This is happening. And I want to suggest this idea to you that a friend of mine mentioned, and I was like, she's amazing. She got it right. Exactly. She said, they need you right in the middle to control you. Because if you're not scared enough, then you're not going to buy into anything and you're not going to do what they want. And if you're too scared, this is when you start seeing the looting, you start seeing the rioting, you start seeing people like go wiling out with violence, and that is also uncontrollable. So they need you right down the middle of the road, and you have been watching them guide us, herd us, and I say us loosely, obviously, because I'm me and you're you, but guiding the people through media and through their reports and how they're handling this. They want you right in the middle, trusting them, but scared enough that we ask them for help or to control people, correct?
It does seem that way because we just wobbled between. It seems like the people generally follow the government. When the government was relaxed about it and Trump said it's no big deal, it's going to go away, people seem to be relaxed about it. And then as soon as the WHO called it a pandemic and you saw government officials seeming more concerned about it, suddenly the panic rushed in. Suddenly everyone realized they had to go get toilet paper and this whole thing just started to unfold. Did you, when you started doing your initial research, did you think it would get to this point or this point this quickly? I mean, where did you kind of foresee this coming as you were learning more and more about it?
So I was annoyed that they were taking people that were driving They're not hurting anybody. They're not doing anything. Somebody in China was driving around and they stopped the car. The cops there stopped the car and drag a guy out of his car and put him in the back of a van. That was going on. Stacks of bodies. They had morticians on 24/7 shifts, and they were trying to speak in code about how many bodies they were transferring. So it was a massive, massive amount of death, which does not match. So that was scary. So I was like, why are they covering up how many deaths there were? And I believe massive cover up of how much death there was. And it did look like it was potentially descendants or people who were speaking out. I mean, it's the Chinese government. We have to understand how dangerous they actually are.
Sure, they could be having deaths they're covering up that are their own deaths for whatever reasons, and then maybe knowing they would later blame it on this virus. I mean, it's hard to really say.
We don't know. And then there is the 5G theory, which again, with the lack of testing and something being new, I think that it's okay to question things without
Can you dive into what that theory is? Because I've seen things here and there about it, and but just for the sake of our audience who might not be familiar with what some people believe,
without endorsing or not endorsing, so this is going to be there are so much better people to say this, but I'll explain it. So kind of how like Tesla talked about vibrations being super important, and we could do a lot of things with vibrations. There does seem to be a lot of science that does support that. Also, there's a correlation to the Spanish flu and the new radio towers going in, and how the frequencies were potentially making the sickness worse or amplifying the sickness in their body. And while they were testing the different modes of this.
This is way back in 1918 when we were just getting
exactly. So
towers.
that's added to the conspiracy. Now, Wuhan put in the most 5G towers a while first before, and then it was also Iran and Italy were also some of the very first countries to put in a lot of the 5G towers, which has, according to critics, not been tested properly, and that we are guinea pigs. It does seem to be looking that way. Again, if you trust what the government says about testing, then you and I may not agree. I don't even know for sure. Okay. I just want to be totally honest. Now, before this coronavirus became a problem, I've been following the 5G loosely, not going out of my way, but when I see something, I read it and that kind of thing. And there was already lists of something they were calling 5G sickness. And it was respiratory issues, dizziness, breathing problems. The list, this was before coronavirus was even a problem, even before China was hiding things or talking about it, okay, before Christmas. So I've been reading about that this last year, about the sickness that people get. And that's why people are saying that this virus could be amplified and made worse by the 5G. Okay.
So perhaps if our bodies were already being weakened in some way, then suddenly this virus that, regardless of how deadly it would or wouldn't have been otherwise, could be much more deadly.
And now we're seeing that flu deaths and pneumonia numbers are all coming down in America. I'm talking about our country right now. And while coronavirus is being the reason for death now. So
that's
we have
the one that makes you go,
Right now, that's why I'd like to be here today to talk about how do you take care of your body, whether or not coronavirus is even real. Now this is a great time to talk about all these people that I see going, wow, maybe I should try to, and I'm not talking about losing weight for looks or caring about bikini body, about getting healthy. Because why are we stressing our bodies out or not getting proper nutrition? Or maybe we should get out there and actually get real vitamin D from the sunshine and stop using these toxins, work on our gut flora so we could absorb all these vitamins. And we know that they're using vitamin C. They got 50 million something of vitamin C was sent to Wuhan, and they're actually admitting that vitamin C is fixing it. They're using vitamin C as a treatment right now with chloroquine. But to me, the vitamin C seems to be the basic of what everyone's using right now for the coronavirus. Now, we all know.
Drink your OJ, kids.
Yeah, actually, OJ is not.
I'm actually drinking my OJ right now. But.
OJ is not the best source of vitamin C.
Yeah, I think this is mostly sugar.
There it is. Right. It actually the vitamin C disappears the longer it's been, like if it's from concentrate. So you're going to want to eat oranges. You're going to want to get vitamin C from your vegetables too. It's out there everywhere. And but you can also take your supplements. That's a really great way to do it. It's because vitamin C is like the number one for this. And things like measles, a lot of people don't realize it's a 3-day fever. And if you have vitamin C, but mostly vitamin A is something that people don't get enough of. And so that's really great for something like measles, right?
What is vitamin A in? You never hear about vitamin A. It's like the lost
Carrots.
vitamin. Everyone's always talking about D and C and even a little B. A gets lost in the whole conversation.
That's the carrots.
Poor
It's
A.
good for the eyes. Remember that one? Like eat carrots are good for your eyes. That's vitamin A. I have a bunch of stuff. You want me to show it to you?
Sure. Let's see what you got. That's why we're on video. You can do that.
So can you see that? That's zinc.
That is zinc.
Does that show up backwards for you?
No, I actually see it exactly as I should.
Okay, cool. Zinc is great for your immune system. So everyone right now, I highly recommend zinc. And then when you have a cold or preventatively, and then vitamin C.
Look at this.
And my kids can't take pills, so I get chewables for them, or I get drops and just stick it in something yummy for them.
I can take pills, but I get chewables because I like to eat candy.
Did you like the Flintstones?
This is healthy candy, of course. Flintstone vitamins are the best.
Yeah, and then I do this kind of vitamin A drops, and they only need like 1 or 2, especially for this. This vitamin A is not the super important one for this one. This is vitamin D, vitamin C, and zinc. That's highly recommended. Let's see what else I got over here. So I use
the Lightheart Pharmacy here.
Oh, yeah, I have like a whole basket. Okay, so magnesium is really good for people's bodies. I highly recommend using, so this is a magnesium for body aches, and your body absorbs magnesium through the skin better than it does through the pills or the oils that you take, right? So a lot of people will take Epsom salt baths. And do you know how to do an Epsom salt?
I have done that, as a matter of fact.
Tell us about how that actually works for you. Does it loosen up your system, help you relax?
I've done it at times when I either just wanted to relax or if I had like body aches and that sort of thing. And yeah, I think even being in a hot bath without Epsom salts would probably help with that stuff too. Help your body relax, your muscles relax. But it's always seemed to just kind of relax me and calm down any kind
helps
of
with cramping
tightness or anything like that. It's always been helpful.
Yeah, so if you've been dehydrated and your body's cramping up, it's usually a magnesium deficiency. So you could take it, but if you take too many of the pills, you will poop your pants. So be careful with that. Fun. I love you all. That's why I'm being honest.
And you really don't want to do that when you're in your Epsom salt bath. That's
true. That's true. So oregano oil. These are capsules, but I also have. So this is really great for the immune system. I highly recommend looking into all of this. Don't use Google. Try DuckDuckGo. Okay. So that's really good. And then I made like this little pot and I put oregano oil in this and chamomile and like lavender. And this is really good to put on the kids' bottoms of their feet to help their immune system. It's really safe.
Why the bottoms of the feet? There's more absorptive.
You really absorb things to the bottom of the feet. It sounds crazy. Everything your grandma told you was true. So you kind of look at all those grandma tricks and then there's usually science behind them. Oh, one of the most amazing things that I got, our family had the flu once. And I even had a newborn baby that was 4 months old. And I got us all through the flu faster than anyone I knew. And these are the tricks I use. So I can make this myself and I'll tell you how to do it. It's called garlic mullein oil. And
sounds yummy.
Yeah. It smells like Olive Garden, right in the ears. And
they just drain out the breadsticks and put it right into that little.
Oh, it's you could put this in any age. You put a drop of this in your ear if you think you're going to get a cold or anything, or anybody that's prone to ear infections. A lot of people don't realize that chronic ear infections are tied to vaccine injury. But regardless of that, you put this in your ears preventatively and cures most ear infections unless they've already gone really, really bad. So if you get on top of it right away, you will not have ear infections. And you can make your own. This is like $12, maybe, but you can make your own by taking, slicing like a whole head of garlic really thinly, put it in the bottom of the saucepan, cover it in olive oil, put it on the very lowest heat, and you just stir it and you wait like 25 minutes until the garlic cloves turn almost black. And then the oil is very dark brown. There should be no sentiment. And you never bring the oil to a smoke point or boil it because it makes it rancid. So, and then you can just use it forever. And honestly, you can make it into salad dressing. It's garlic and oil.
Yeah.
And so you do that. And then the other one is a wool sock method or wool sock treatment, which is going to sound really crazy and nobody ever wants to
It
try
already
it.
does before I hear what it is, but
Okay. Every single person that I know that has tried it after I recommended it, a lot of people won't try it. They just won't do it. It's weird. They'd rather take a pill, but this is amazing. Not only is it a natural fever reducer, it also clears chest congestion, and it is stimulating to the immune system. So it'll kickstart your immune response. So as soon as the kids start looking like, clammy and they don't look right, and where they start to act too tired, and you're like, oh no, everybody's getting sick. And when I start to get worried, if I get worried at all, like that weird feeling, like anytime that you would normally give them medicine, really quickly, Tylenol depletes glutathione. It is an amino acid. Do not give it. If you give your children vaccines, please do not give them Tylenol at all, because it will strip them of the ability to process toxins or detox them out of their body in any way. And it is usually in line with seizures and encephalitis. So please don't use Tylenol. And then, as we're hearing now with this, ibuprofen is probably not good for people with corona. Okay. So these are ways to reduce your fever. And then the magnesium in a bath will help you with your body aches. So I'm just trying to give everybody alternative methods here. So you take a bowl or a glass of ice water, very cold. You take your cotton sports socks, like ankle socks, and you put them in the cold water until they're icy cold. You wring them out and you put on the cold, wet sock and a dry wool sock over the top of it. Okay? Sounds nuts.
It does sound nuts.
but it also doesn't sound harmful, so it can't hurt, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, your feet might be cold, but yeah.
Yeah, and then you just get in bed, go to bed, and you can take them off when they're all dry.
So is it basically going back to that theory about the feet being absorbative, and if they're absorbing this cold water overnight, it's just going to naturally sort of
the wool, because wool has a tendency. Cotton, you can really, in the elements, you don't want to be in cotton or anything like that, right? But wool has a tendency, even if it's cold and frozen, will actually keep you warm better, and you won't get hypothermia as much. It's pretty magnificent. So the wool socks, it's kind of like they draw it out, the cold water. I don't really understand how, but it works. And I found that method from a crunchy group 10 years ago, and it's changed our family's life. Wow. So another one for infections. And there were a few friends I had that may or may not have or had the coronavirus over the last month. I mean, this one, whatever's going on that people do have, seems to be a really long 3-week illness. Okay. Maybe 3.5.
It just sounds brutal, because if I'm sick for 2 days, I really get depressed.
Yeah, it also seems to be a roller coaster from everybody. I've been collecting as much data as I can from anybody who's sick and what's going on out there, okay? And this is the thing that everybody seems to have that has anything. This is what it seems like. So it seems like as soon as they feel like they're getting better, then they tank again. So this is called organic cold-pressed castor oil. You want the cold press, so it has all the health benefits, and it's called castor oil packs. You can Google that easily, and there's lots of ways to do it. I do it kind of in a lazier way and cleaner way, so I'll tell you about it. So you take you put the castor oil on the front of your chest where your lungs are, or on your back, or you can do both, and you spread the castor oil all over, put a paper towel over it, and then a wet washcloth, warm, wet washcloth, and then you put the heating pad on it. Or if your lymph nodes are swollen, then you would use like a hot pack on it over the castor oil. This is very old school. But it really does fix infections. A lot of breastfeeding moms know about castor oil hot packs, because when they get mastitis, you can actually clear up the infection without taking antibiotics and things like that. So is this helpful to you? Are you
absolutely
interested?
I actually have a question that I popped up in one of the places I posted this on Facebook. My good friend Jason Birdsell, he asked about the Tylenol thing that you mentioned. Are you saying don't use Tylenol if they have ever been vaccinated, or just close to when they've received vaccines?
Specifically when they get the vaccines. I will never use Tylenol ever again, knowing what I know about it.
Gotcha. So do you have more in the closet to show us first? But
Do you
more in the
do you want
basket?
more?
Yeah,
I have way more.
Give us the whole thing.
If you're afraid you have allergies at the same time and you don't know which is which, I highly recommend quercetin.
I've
It usually
heard this
comes from
several sources about
from
this
nettles,
thing.
and this has with bromelain, which is actually from fresh pineapple, has bromelain in it. And if you have a sore throat, fresh pineapple in your throat will immediately soothe it, better than raw honey, in my opinion. But you can take as much of this as you want, and if this is all natural with no side effects. So if this is almost working for you, but you have a really bad day with allergies, then you can take one of your meds. I don't really like them. My husband was a monster when he used to take meds. Either he was falling asleep or he was mean. So this is great. Sore throat. Raw apple cider vinegar has probiotics in it. And you can dilute it because it's very strong and it sucks and the kids aren't going to do it. But for them, I do a cheap acidophilus, which is probiotics. And John and his probiotics.
Yes, of
we are
course.
on the same page about that. So
if he's smart, he'll pop into the comments and promote it right now.
Oh yeah, I would. So acidophilus or a better brand is going to be better, but you can pop open these capsules and sprinkle it in the water and gargle, and that'll help kill the bacteria. Those good bacteria will smother out the bad bacteria. For fulvic minerals, take these for so many things, but it's really the best for absorption of minerals and things in your gut. So this with probiotics is absolutely wonderful. And then colloidal silver. Now this is, again, don't use Google. This is not the
Should you buy it from Alex Jones? That's my first question.
No, this is not the stuff that turns you blue. It's ionized. This is really strong. I actually buy it because it's cheaper this way, and then I just dilute it myself in a smaller bottle for 25 ppm. This will kill, and you can gargle with it, kill bacteria. Put it in your nose. It'll kill bacteria. And fungus, it kills everything. It's really great. And then I'm almost there. This is highly recommended. There's some amazing stories about DMSO, but this is what it does. It is an anti-inflammatory. It's actually kind of like a byproduct from pine processing, actually. And so the downside of it is the moment it touches your skin, you taste garlic in your mouth.
Your skin boils off.
Yeah. Well, it can be an irritant, but it actually makes you taste like garlic and gives you garlic breath until you use it more often. And that's pretty gross. So I don't blame any normies for not wanting to use this. That said, if you have let's say you use weed butter, cannabis butter on your really sore shoulders, or a really good blend that helps loosen the muscles. If you put this on first, it actually is a carrier into your skin. In fact, you can actually kill infection in your glands and things like that if you put the DMSO on first, and then anything that you use to kill that. I think that's mostly everything. Oh, and this is for everybody, especially women. D-mannose. You can stop using antibiotics anytime that somebody gets a UTI. That's a very common thing, especially for little girls who don't know how to keep themselves clean properly. For daughters, you could sprinkle a little bit in their water, and it actually grabs onto all like E. coli bacteria and flushes it out when they go to the bathroom. And in Europe, they don't even use antibiotics for UTIs. They use this. So. Wow. I think that's helpful stuff.
You need to put together a Lightheart starter pack and have a little affiliate link here.
Yeah, you guys, that's funny. And then, of course, there's things like mushrooms, also great for immunity. But I don't know everything, and I'm sure I'm missing out lots of stuff. Oh, headaches also. Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory, and it's just turmeric, okay? And a little bit of peppermint essential oil right on your temple. And just wipe it right here to here, and your headache will go away immediately. And that's also a natural fever reducer.
Okay, now Raylene, there are going to be people in the audience now that are hearing you list all this stuff, and there are some people out there that are rolling their eyes saying, "Oh, here we go, one of these holistic people, blah blah blah. Right. They should really just go to the doctor and do exactly as they're told." Sure. And I'm sure you get this in your real life from all the busybodies out there. So, what's your response to people that are skeptical about using different supplements and that sort of thing? That say, you should just go to your doctor, do what you're told, take the pills you're given, and move on with your life.
Well, first of all, don't tell me what to do. Haha, just kidding. Okay. But also that, yes. What it really comes down to is this. I want you to do whatever you want to do. When I'm showing some things, if you are like worried about like colloidal silver, oh, I don't know, okay, then don't do it. But when I'm talking about wool socks or castor oil, which we all know is natural, or drinking
Vitamin
nettle
C
tea,
is not going
exact vitamin C. So these things are, it's like this. If you want to believe they won't work, then they might not work. Power of intention is actually way more important than people realize. I mean, you have people from all walks of life, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're non-secular, but you are going to seminars for The Secret. What do you think it's all about? Keep your mind positive, keep your soul strong. We have got to be combating the collective unconscious of everybody out there fear-mongering, because you know what? Their vibrations themselves, I know this is hippy-dippy sounding.
Hippie
but
away. I love it.
It's nastiness, okay? And we have to raise our consciousness and our vibration and live our best life to combat that. That's the act of resistance.
I mean, if we just think on the base level, how do you feel when you're in a bad mood, you're depressed, you feel physically shitty too. You feel like you don't want to get out of bed, you're tired. When you're feeling happy and you're in a good mood, then you feel the opposite. So if you can find a way to do that to yourself, to change your attitude towards everything, you're going to feel better than you would otherwise. It doesn't mean you're going to be automatically healthy, but you're going to be in a better situation than you are if you just say, oh no, I'm feeling sick. Oh no, I'm so sad. Oh no, I know I'm going to get sick. I got to
let's go to fear. What does fear do?
It
fear
raises your anxiety. It raises your depression.
Makes you sick. Okay, so I'm not saying this is a complete myth or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying, why wouldn't you try something different if you know there's no risk? I didn't say don't do what you want to do. Also, don't listen to your doctor. Don't do it. I choose who I listen to, and I have to ask my doctor questions. And if they don't know more than I do, then I'm not listening to them. But the first step with that is that I had to learn more than they did,
And it goes back to this idea of authority and the idea that it doesn't just apply to government. It applies to so many sectors in life where
the state doesn't just mean government.
Right.
The state.
And you think that your doctor is the ultimate authority on everything. And you got to go doctor by doctor. Some doctors do a lot of research into nutrition and other areas of life and will give you sort of a wider girth of advice. Other doctors, they just go through their system. They go through medical school and they essentially diagnose you from a book and give you and spit out the prescribed prescription. And it's going to be different doctor to doctor. But it's not like doctors, I don't think any of us are saying doctors are evil and are cackling away in their office that they just gave you bad advice. It's not like that at all. I think it's just like any other area of life, there are people that go through the system and just follow the system exactly as it is. And they're going to spit out the system answers. That's just how it's going to work.
And well, in this day and time, we're all in quarantine. Going to the doctor right now, where all those germs probably actually are, if that's what you're afraid of, we're all quarantined because we're afraid of these germs or this virus. You know where it's going to be? At a doctor office. It just will be, because people that are sick are going there. Okay. So if you don't think you're sick enough to have to go to the doctor, but you want to prevent these things, taking care of your nutrition and just taking the vitamin C and getting sunshine and getting fresh air, sunshine specifically kills it. Heat kills viruses. Fevers are good. So don't use a fever reducer if you don't absolutely need to. Don't think in fear. Think like a king. Think like a winner. Think like a general. You are in charge. You need to see things coming. You need to prepare yourself. And if there is no risk, try this stuff out before you even want to go to a doctor. That's how I look at it.
Think like a king. I like that slogan.
Thanks. Oh, Raylene means kingly.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Excellent tie-in. I want to talk more about the sunlight and the exercise and the fresh air, because one thing that bothers me the most about this whole thing, and a lot of, at least here in Los Angeles, before we got an official shelter at home order or safer at home order, whatever they're calling it now, most businesses had already voluntarily sent most people they could home. Where I work in television production, everybody not directly involved in productions was sent home before there was any government order, and people were doing their jobs from home. Some of us that can't do their work from home were there, still sort of distancing on our own. No one told us to do this other than the company suggesting it, and this all came in private means. And then we switched to the shelter at home order. And at first it seemed like, okay, we weren't supposed to go to work. We weren't supposed to be inside buildings gathering together. Okay. That bothers me for many reasons on its own from the authority side, but let's leave that aside for a second. but people were still going outside, getting exercise, going to trails, going to the beach. But then they decided too many people were going to the beach, and that was considered large gatherings. And same thing was happening on a lot of trails because now nobody's working because everyone here either works in TV production or something related to TV production or a restaurant or a bar, and all of that's gone. So we have nothing else to do. Why are we not going to enjoy the nature, which is one of the reasons many people live out here? But now they have started to systematically close the beaches, close the trails, even the most innocuous things. Like there's a wooden little workout area on this one little walkway that I walk my dogs on sometimes down in Manhattan Beach. That's totally closed off, taped off. You can't go exercise there on wood outside.
And the sun will kill any virus on that wood, by the way. So anybody who is actually concerned about the virus being on the wood, the sun itself will kill it.
Yeah, and that's why it just seems insane to me that they seem to be actively now discouraging people from even going outside and even leaving your houses. And I get a lot of people when I post stuff like this that'll say, well, that's just silly. You're allowed to go outside. You can walk around your neighborhood. And yes, that's true. You can walk around your neighborhood. Why am I even living in a world where I'm having a conversation about where I can walk or where I can go? But regardless of that, it's clear that they are discouraging. Yes, you can go walk
they're
in your
actually now arresting people for it in other states.
Are they doing that where you are in Washington?
Yeah, well, not that I have seen in Washington. I just saw something about New York, and I just saw something about New Jersey, and I am now seeing actual proven like arrests or tickets and things like that. It's happening.
Or just being out
yes, and with their own husband and wife, dad and daughter. I saw. And they're not social distanced, even though they live together.
Even though they're going to go home and not be social distanced, of course,
or in the car. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it seems like if you have two scenarios, you can have let's just say a 3-person family, mom, dad, and a kid. They can do two things. They can stay inside all day, or they can go outside together and still be in the same distance they'd be inside, but be getting exercise, be getting sunlight, and all these healthy things. It's pretty obvious which of those is the more healthy scenario, but the state seems to be discouraging the second one a lot more than they are the first one.
Well, first of all, we are all here. We are all libertarian curious, at least everybody who's watching this. So this is what it comes down to. When is there an example where the state doesn't actually make it insanely different than what they were trying to do? Mm-hmm. Like, when have they not failed at any execution? When has it not been arbitrary or logically inconsistent? This is no different than what we already know of the state. It's just more oppressive and people are cheering them effing on. It is insanity, because if you are the fact that they are saying you can't go anywhere unless you go to the store. The stores are limiting things down to 2 loaves of bread.
And get this one. This week in Los Angeles, they said, we highly recommend don't go to grocery shopping this week either, because this is a very important week, we're told, for stopping the virus. So we should not
flattening
even go
some curve of some sort. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So we have a family of 8. All right. And my oldest doesn't even live here right now. So that's how that is right now. So imagine that when we're only allowed to buy 1 toilet paper, and Joe
goes
Blow over
pretty
there.
Quick, I would think.
Okay. Now, right. And I just want to point out that that's a store mandate. I'm not asking for a law, but I'm asking for some common effing sense. Mm-hmm. That now I have to go to multiple stores and not only expose myself, but other people to me, depending on who is carrying what, because it's all invisible and no one knows. Okay. Or I have to go back to the store every single day to get what I need. We take 2 carts every time I go grocery shop. I social distance anyway. All right. I have a daughter who's immunocompromised. I don't play around. All right. My daughter has heart disease. She has congenital heart failure, which is how I got into this crunchy medicine and all these things. I mean, it's how I did my research. This is why. So the fact that everyone out there is screaming about somebody not wearing gloves don't protect you. They just make you not touch your face as often.
And if you touch it with a glove and then touch your face with the glove, it's not going to really be
It's not a bloodborne illness. And not only that, what does it matter if that person's wearing gloves or not? It's all about hand washing and not touching the virus. You think that if you have gloves on, you're touching everything everybody else has touched. Right. Use your common sense. Anyway, it's insane out there. It's arbitrary. And then they say weed stores, which they won't even legalize until 2 years ago or something crazy. And then now they're essential services.
Yeah, that is hilarious. Okay. How same thing here in Los Angeles, weed was declared an essential service, which I would actually argue it is. But I would also argue anybody running a business is saying their life is an essential service.
Yeah. And businesses are people. And this is something that libertarians don't say enough. And because I think this is the most...
Because then we'll be lumped in with Mitt Romney and corporations are people.
Right. Well, it's compassionate capitalism is what Hody calls it, right? Mm-hmm. And I really like that term because Businesses are people. I have a business that's me and my labor and my fruits of my labor and what I'm doing. That is me. So when I get told I'm not essential, I'm not allowed to, I'm now breaking the law if I want to go help someone build their roof. Right. But somebody sells energy bars to people close to the military base that's local. That's an essential business. It's a game store that has energy bars in it, and they were deemed essential.
Wow. It's really the lack of logic and common sense is what's really driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Between policies and just people calling for these policies. I mean,
this is the part that I'm shocked by, Mark, when you asked earlier. I'm sorry to interrupt. You asked me that, and I have to tell you, it's one thing to talk about what do people call you, a conspiracy theorist. All libertarians, of course, are conspiracy theorists. All the government.
We almost have to be, to an extent.
Well, right, and that was a term propagated and created by the CIA anyway to downplay.
Yeah, what's funny is when people use that term, they're part of a conspiracy.
yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. So
they've been brainwashed by the conspiracy to make that a term to
it's like
people.
It's like Inception. So conspiracy inception. Okay. So yeah, when you look at what's happening, I knew that this was going to happen. We all knew, but looking at, I'm getting very emotional. Looking around at it happening all at one time right now, I'm like, I thought I had 10 years. I'm sorry, I'm getting all sweaty. This is like really upsetting to me. I'm shocked. I'm disgusted. I'm in my local groups and I'm seeing everyone scream about hoarding, but they don't understand what hoarding is. Mm-hmm. And because there's shortages, because they're shutting down all the businesses, they still
probably
think
if you're getting 2 toilet papers for your 8-person family, you're hoarding.
That's exactly what's happening. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. And the way they're promoting violence, they're just taking pictures of local people and trying to vilify. I mean, this is what fear does. And this is 1984. This is people reporting on anybody. I mean, I'm loving the meme groups about the Karens, and I'm loving that we are resisting and calling that out. But I am horrified by how, if this gets worse, I'm literally scared of my neighbors trying to come in, rape, kill, and murder our family and steal food and do what they got to do. I mean, this is like, I'm more worried about the neighbors at this point because they are cheering on this fascism. Oof.
Yeah. It's really frightening. I mean, there was this guy who was out paddleboarding around here the other day, and he was obviously, if you're paddleboarding, even on a crowded day in the ocean, you're always social distancing on a paddleboard because you can't really be within
it's a 6 foot long paddleboard.
It's impossible. You're going to knock each other over. So you're always social distancing paddleboarding. But of course, the beach was closed, and he was the only one out there. So of course, the beach cops came and took him out of the beach and arrested him. So now he goes from being in the sun, getting exercise, alone on a paddleboard, nowhere near anybody, to being next to 2 cops without masks, being brought to a jail where he's inside around more people, probably put in a cell, maybe in a cell with other people. In which scenario?
6 feet distance in the jail, I bet. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's just, I do see a lot of people that think it's wrong. Actually, the vast majority of people, but I have probably a slightly skewed timeline due to all the libertarians that follow me through the podcast. But there are people that not only cheer this on, but they think it's necessary, because if we don't arrest people, we don't show people that it's serious, then people are just going to go out and do it all.
Social distance yourself.
Around. Right.
Social distance yourself. Why? Yeah. And here, if I may, this is really important to me as, thank you. If you will get an argument with me, you will be disrespected by me, I will mock you if you try to tell me that your immunity is my responsibility. Because no, and this is from a mother with a child who is immunocompromised. This is I'm telling you that her immunity is her responsibility, and because I'm her mother, our responsibility to protect her. That it is our job to feed our bodies what it needs to be able to get through this. It is our job to teach ourselves and practice good hygiene, because that's what it takes. That you will never be able to find the person who made you sick. You can't really, everybody tries to say, oh, I got sick from somebody over here, must have been this person. That's not how germs work. It's not how viruses work. Learn something and take responsibility for yourself. It is not an NAP violation. And I'm probably going to lose a lot of your people here on this one, but this is it is not an NAP violation. Your house needs to have a lock on its doors.
Sure.
Your house needs to be protected by you.
Now, if someone breaks into your house and starts coughing on you, okay, they have now committed a
forcibly
violation.
injecting you with a virus is a different thing. I'm not talking about forcibly entering your body to do so, but it's communicable, and it has never in the history of man ever been punishable to blame other people for making them sick. You protect yourself. So this is a lack of self-ownership, a complete lack of self-ownership, including your mind, your soul, your body. That's yours. And we just don't have that anymore. And you can't blame other people for you getting sick. Take care of yourself a little bit better. And that's just how this works. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just I think like you, the biggest concern I'm getting right now, it was originally from the police state, from the idea that we're all being locked down or shut down. But to be honest, I haven't really seen much police activity myself out here. I'm sure it's happening other places.
I saw 5 cops.
Wow.
I live in the woods. Okay, I live in the woods. And we're driving and see one cop go by me, and I'm like, oh, there's the cop looking for people walking on the side of the street together. You know, I kind of make a joke. And then I'm going up into town. I come up, like I finally hit a street light, but again, on the outside of town. And I saw 4 cops driving by. There's more cops on the road than people.
Well, I imagine their revenue is taking a hit with less people out driving, less people out doing stuff. I know the red light cameras aren't making as much money, and the cops aren't able to pull as much people over. So maybe they're doubling down in a way because they have to try to make their money, make their quotas.
Essential.
Very essential. Yeah, but like you, I share the concern of the mentality I see in many of my fellow citizens more so. I mean, it's this blue checkmark mentality too. It's the mentality that we saw something on CNN or we saw something on Fox News. I'm not trying to be left or right here. And then therefore we know everything because we've heard from an expert on TV, and that's the one expert to listen to. So now we know everything. So hashtag stay the fuck home. And it's really frightening how quickly it goes from expert advice to we think the state, we're going to advocate for the state to crack down on you now. We're going to advocate for you to be put in jail for doing something like being outside, for doing something like going to the beach. And this mentality is not something that's going to go away even when coronavirus calms down.
There it is. Did you see the link that I just shared today from a man from the WHO, World Health Organization? They are evil. Do not trust
not the
thing.
band, not the classic band, the Who.
And no, they're great. So there he actually said that, well, you know, one thing that we're not talking about is how the families are all living together and somebody could be an asymptomatic carrier and they could have it in their families. So we are telling everybody that we think that pretty soon we're going to be going door to door and pulling families apart. This is like FEMA camp shit. This is
just separating everybody into little cubes so that they're, just in case anyone might have this thing.
Taking people's children. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, and I want you to know that WHO has just been busted by the Livewire, Del Bigtree, who used to be a producer on the show The Doctors. He's done some amazing documentaries, and he released some footage from the World Health Organization big summit. And they got up and basically said, what are you doing to test these vaccines? It was all about vaccines, right? And they said, well, we haven't really done actual testing, safety testing. We don't have very good safety testing in place. This hasn't been done, but we really need to get this done. So they're saying it hasn't been. And they show the woman that's like a lead researcher there from India who was up there answering the questions. And then they show a video that she released 5 days before, and it's a commercial for WHO with all these like very scientific people in the background with lab coats and vials and pouring stuff in the background saying that this is the best research in science that's ever been done, the safety testing. We never stop testing for safety. And I mean, literally saying the opposite things. Okay. So WHO was giving an oral polio vaccine, which was already made illegal in United States because the oral polio vaccine was spreading polio. So because of that, they made it illegal here. And then Bill Gates and WHO were out there giving people in third world countries the oral polio vaccine. In my opinion, it was to pump up the numbers so that would force people here go, oh, we don't want to be like people in India and Africa. We don't want to be like that because
I saw something saying, there's a comeback of polio in India. Here's why anti-vaxxers are to blame.
Yeah, okay, and there it is. Is that right? They're listening to us over in Africa. So what happened is they were actually
They're
spreading
listening to Blast Off and taking Raylene's vaccine advice.
No, Johnny doesn't like me to talk about this stuff very often. So
you're free to roam here.
Thanks. So what the sickness is why would they be giving an outdated illegal thing to poor Black people who don't have clean water, who don't have hygiene practices, who don't have access to the clean water? Why would they be giving something that spreads through fecal matter and going to the bathroom, because that's how it's spread, and through hands? Why would they be giving that to people in a live vaccine with a live virus?
And for people that might say, well, that's just a conspiracy about it spreading, about it being dangerous, the oral vaccine, then you have to ask, why is it illegal here? So which logic are you going to use? The government's logic or not?
That's exactly right. So I just kind of, for me, sometimes we're looking for the data to back up what we believe.
I would say almost all the time. Even libertarians fall very prey to that.
Right. Absolutely. And I have to keep an eye on that because I definitely have distrust issues. Mm-hmm. All right. That said, there's nothing wrong with observing. There's nothing wrong with seeing that everybody could be lying, that there could be truth everywhere. And maybe
it's possible China's lies, the U.S. government lies, the CDC lies. This is all within lying. The same realm of possibility, and they could all be lying in different directions.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
I want to talk a little more about the vaccine aspect of this, because I know this is an area you're really passionate about, and I get concerned. Put aside the even safety or efficacy of vaccines for a second. Mm-hmm. I'm very concerned when I see people like Bill Gates, who suddenly, I guess, is the world's leading expert in epidemiology, going out there saying, well, what we're really going to need to do, we're going to have to lock down for 18 months. You can't leave your houses. Then we're going to have to make sure we vaccinate everybody in the world. Oh, here's an idea. Then
I'd rather fucking die of coronavirus. I'm sorry I swore, everybody.
Yeah.
You know what?
Then wear a bracelet or have a chip in my hand that says whether I'm
microchips.
I mean, that he's literally is suggesting this as the only solution to this problem of coronavirus. I mean, right. That's the stuff that scares me.
So here, you should be scared. So here's something that's really interesting, and I have to say that I watch let's talk about like Democrats, for instance. Democrats have really they understand the secret sauce to radicalism. Okay, so the liberals have really harnessed the energy of radicals, and they push out the real crazy radical people. So communists that are out there right now saying outwardly saying they're communists, they are forging ahead for the liberal agenda. Okay. That is what's happening. And the conservatives are not very good at the radical thing because they always end up being fucking stupid racist.
By definition, they're not radical either. When
they end up.
You can't be radical.
Yeah, we're like Chris Cantwell stuff, and like that's gross. And like they don't. Yeah, they're not actually pushing anything good. But radical libertarianism and anarchists out there, they do the most educating of people who are libertarian curious. In the end. Now, people that are way more middle of the road on libertarian, just the ideas, which are way beautiful for bringing everyone in. Like, Marc, you are so non-threatening.
Oh, well,
right?
Thank you. I think.
No, it's wonderful, except for that lion hair. You are.
Mane.
You're kind. You're respectful. You're fun. You keep it fun, and you introduced the ideas that are very practical, everyman understanding of liberty. And so I think that's amazing. That's your job, right? In this movement. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make these ideas approachable for people. Right. That's what you are doing, is what I should say. You are doing it. Right. And then there are the more radical people that are, and I'm like not quite all the way there. I'm like somewhere in the middle, like on the road to radicalism. I am a friendly radical, and then there's the mean radicals.
I'm radical of mind and affable of approach.
Yeah. Right. And so I'm a little more outspoken on radical things because I've been doing this for a million years, and I have to. I'm too nice otherwise. I'm a girl. So I think that it's important for women to be able to speak their mind. And I'm not like a textbook feminist. It's not like that. But I do think that women need to lead by example to other women about how to be self-possessed, kind, loving, and nurturing, and all the wonderful things that women can be, at the same time having strong opinions and an open mind. Right?
Yep.
But the radicalism. So what are they doing right now? This is radical. He's pushing the radical points. And so even if he doesn't get it right away, we are going to be moving the herd in that direction. So we think we win if we only get the forced vaccine with no microchip in it.
Right. Then we say, okay, we didn't get the microchip, so we're all
we
good.
Win.
Meanwhile, we just have a certificate instead. Okay, so.
Wouldn't you agree?
Big deal. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's how they always move the Overton window. They present these monstrous, outrageous ideas, and then they're too crazy, so they don't go through. But you get something that's 40% there. The conservatives say, hey, we stopped the liberal agenda, and we conserve things. Meanwhile, it's moved.
When did you start recognizing, like, how far into libertarianism was it before you realized that everything's a joke and you don't even know how to handle it because it's not funny, but also it's hilarious? There's almost like
a good question.
You know what I'm talking about? That weird place
where it just
you start reacting at everything because you're like, it's so obvious.
Maybe now. I mean, to me, it's been this thing that I can point things out to people all the time. These laws that are being passed here and there. These laws that are being passed here and there. But to me, this is the biggest, like, real world. Holy shit! This is all happening. This kind of, like, the stuff that you hear Alex Jones talking about 10 years ago. Yeah, I mean, the stuff that. When I was in my early, I guess, conspiracy phase, when I was less on the philosophy side and more into that stuff, this is exactly what people like Alex Jones were talking about.
Alex Jones is not that wrong about most of it. He's not.
I mean, his approach turns people off. But look, you can't deny that they're calling for vaccines and microchips because they're doing it.
Also, hi,
Bill
Howie.
Gates is openly calling for it. Is Howie on here? Or are you just saying hi to him?
I just love him. I love him.
You guys should start your own show. You and Howie doing like a health-related something show. He can talk about his spiritual things. You can talk about your holistic medicines. I think it would be a real hit.
Yeah, really? Because I would love to play with him. I would love to. Not, you
Is
know
your
what I
husband
mean?
watching right now? Because
I remember a very wholesome lady that I am.
Yes. Very wholesome lady. So, Raylene, I just want to wind down here. With your final thoughts, I guess, about this whole thing. I mean, how are you, first of all, how are you keeping sane during all this? Maybe you're not. I don't know. I go back and forth.
I'm a king. I'm a king.
You're a king. There you go.
So here's the deal. Yeah. Who owns you? You own you. You get it. I know you do. You and I are right now, we're vibing, and because you know what we get? We are in charge of us.
Right. And
they can take your body and they can force your movement. And I'm so sorry that we're in this position, everybody. I am so sorry. I love all of you and you don't deserve this. None of us deserve this. That said, they cannot take our minds and they cannot take our hearts, and we own them, and do not let them rob you of your joy and your peace, because happiness is a fleeting emotion that comes and goes, and hopefully we foster more and more happiness in it. But happiness is not a state of being, but real true peace is, because when you have true peace in your heart and you understand that fear is meant to control you, fear is used to exploit you, then you will go, is this a rational fear, or is it something I understand that can happen, and now I choose to live my life in this way as a resistance, as a fuck you, because they will not rob me of my peace, and I will raise my children to be diligent, to be careful, self-possessed, to own themselves. I'm raising my children to be the resistance. And every single time we come into contact with somebody out there, hey, give a corona wave, give a smile, make jokes, make sure you're loud enough for that 6 feet distance, but honestly, have a great time and do kind things to people. Show them that they can trust their neighbors and that we do not need to live in a society where we are controlled completely. That's what I have to say.
I think that's an awesome message to end on, because there's only so many things that we can control in our lives. There's all this stuff going on around us. We can't control how our neighbors act. We can't control how our neighbors think. We can't control what the state does. We can't control what the cops do, but we can control what we do, and we can't control what's in our minds, and we can decide, yes, we're going to be afraid, we're going to sense the worst thing coming and just go on about it constantly and create that culture of fear and make it worse, or we can be the positive inspiration that we have to be, because that's the only way we're going to change people. We're not going to change people by screaming at the top of our lungs about how everything's horrible and how we have a police state and all this. We have to show, if our neighbors are afraid of us and afraid we're going to make things worse by spreading the coronavirus, well, do something kind for your neighbor. Say, do you need some groceries? I can get them delivered and sent over to you. You don't need to come in contact. Do you need any help? And now at least they might trust you a little bit.
Or dropping off a couple alcohol wipes and a small vegetable garden, like
or some alcohol, a bottle of whiskey. Depends
there
on
it is.
The neighbor,
like, hey guys, this is it. This is the chance. And it's not all about what you do, although the more you do for people right now will be noticed. So you are an ambassador to what we believe. So every time that you engage in beautiful voluntarism, you are actually like living the movement. You are showing it. And there's things like biblical things. They talk about let your light shine. This is what this is. And when people see that we have a healthy understanding of what the evils in the world are, that we have hope and we have understanding that we can still be self-possessed, we are showing them the light. And that doesn't have to be spiritual for you, but liberty to me is spiritual, and that we got this.
All right. Well, Raylene, I think that's a beautiful message to end things on. Before I let you hop off here, why don't you just take a second to just plug the podcast, blast off, and as well, I think you and Johnny have something new in the works, if I saw that correctly.
Johnny's a great planner, and I love that man, and I love his idealism, I love his visions, and I love his artistic integrity and fun. Yeah, Johnny's a fun guy. And so whatever we do, it's because Johnny wants to, and I'm going to say yes or no and do it also if I want to. So that'll be fun. Big enough. But yeah, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Patreon. If you go to supportblastoff.com, you can go ahead and support us there. And you can even have access to our other shows, which is the After Party, and the second show is the All Nighter.
All right, Raylene Lightheart, thank you so much for joining me today. Keep up the great work. Keep being a great voice for liberty out there. Keep on roaring.
You.
Thanks, Raylene. All right, kitty cats, thanks for joining me here on the weekend along with Raylene Lightheart. I hope you got some interesting tips and some good insights there from our good friend Raylene. Please do check out the work she is doing along with our friend Johnny Adams over at Blast Off. They are killing it each and every week. Back on the wagon or off the wagon. I don't know which one, but whatever one means they're turning out great content again, that's the one they're on, or off, whatever. You know what I mean. I just want to remind you once again, if you appreciate the extra content we're doing in these coronavirus times, one way to access all of it and access all of it earlier, of course, our Patreon folks got this a few days ago. You can support us on Patreon. Join the Lions of Liberty Pride at patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. You'll get access to all sorts of exclusive bonus content. At certain levels, you even get to decide the content of this show. We've got a very interesting one coming later this month. One of our Nittany level members will be choosing a show, and I'm going to keep the content, I'm going to keep that one a secret for now, but let's just say I think you're going to find it pretty interesting. I'm going to tell you right now, that one is going to air on April 20th, so you make of that what you will, but stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for all of our regular content. Of course, we still are the greatest libertarian variety show on earth. You do get the flagship show each and every Monday, where I interview leaders in the libertarian movement and host exciting and fun and oftentimes drunken roundtables on Mondays, and sometimes now on Saturdays, sometimes on Tuesdays. You never know when a bonus episode might appear, since I have all this extra time on my hands. And you also got Brian, of course, coming at you every Wednesday with his weekly shot of comedy, culture, and liberty on Electric Liberty Land, while Odie will wrap things up for you on Fridays with his hard-hitting and always inspiring look at the broken criminal justice system on Felony Friday. You get it all for the price of one, and that price is zero, my friends. Just hit that subscribe button, and you will have the greatest libertarian variety show on earth delivered right into your earbuds right now, a little bit more than 3 times per week. Oh, and I do want to add, before I sign off here, that I'll be compiling some of the stuff that Raylene had mentioned in the show. I will be listing all of that in today's show notes, which you can find at lionsofliberty.com/450. 450 episodes I've pumped out here over these 6+ years. And I'll be doing another one right on schedule this coming Monday. So I'll see you then. And until then, my friends, live long and live free.